Ever feel like your brain's playing tricks on you? You're not alone. The audiobook Cognitive Biases in Critical Thinking, 21 Flaws You Didn't Know You Have, unveils the hidden biases influencing your every decision. Discover how to sharpen your critical thinking, make smarter choices, and understand yourself and others better. Don't let invisible mental traps hold you back from reaching your full potential. Unlock the secrets to clearer thinking and transform your life, relationships, and success. Before we go on, I invite you to download the free bundle, which contains the ebook version of this book and an executive summary of all the chapters with the key takeaways. Studies show that engaging with content through multiple formats significantly enhances learning and retention. Click on the first link in the description to claim your free bundle now and maximize your learning potential. Now it's free, but it won't be for long, so make sure to grab it while you can. Chapter 1. The Mind's Hidden Traps. Our minds are marvels of evolution, capable of processing vast amounts of information and making split-second decisions. Yet, hidden within these incredible cognitive machines lie subtle traps that can lead us astray. These traps, known as cognitive biases, silently shape our perceptions, influence our judgments, and impact our decision-making processes in ways we often fail to recognize. Imagine you're navigating a dense forest. The path ahead seems clear, but unseen pitfalls and hidden obstacles lurk beneath the surface. Similarly, as we navigate the complex landscape of our thoughts and decisions, cognitive biases act as these concealed hazards, subtly guiding us towards flawed conclusions and irrational choices. But why do these biases exist? How do they affect our ability to think critically? And most importantly, how can we recognize and overcome them to make better decisions and lead more fulfilling lives? As you embark on this journey through the labyrinth of your mind, you'll gain a newfound awareness of these hidden traps. The first time you go through this book, you should be able to achieve two crucial milestones. First, you'll develop an initial awareness of cognitive biases, understanding their nature and how they operate in your daily life. Second, you'll begin to recognize your own personal biases, those unique mental shortcuts that have been shaping your thoughts and actions, often without your conscious knowledge. This newfound awareness is just the beginning. Over time, as you continue to apply the concepts and strategies outlined in this book, you'll witness a remarkable transformation in your cognitive abilities. Enhanced critical thinking skills will become your new norm, allowing you to analyze situations with greater clarity and objectivity. Your decision-making abilities will improve dramatically as you learn to navigate around the pitfalls that once tripped you up. But what exactly are these cognitive biases? At their core are recurring patterns of divergence from standard or logical reasoning in decision-making. They are mental shortcuts or heuristics that our brains use to process information quickly and efficiently. While these shortcuts can be useful in many situations, they can also lead us to make mistakes in reasoning, evaluation, or other cognitive processes. The study of cognitive biases has a rich historical context, dating back to the exceptional work of psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky in the 1970s. Their research revolutionized our understanding of human decision-making, challenging the long-held belief that humans are inherently rational beings. Since then, numerous other researchers have contributed to this field, uncovering a vast array of biases that influence our thinking in subtle yet profound ways. You might wonder why these biases exist in the first place. After all, wouldn't it be better if our brains always operated with perfect rationality? The answer lies in the concept of cognitive efficiency. Our brains have evolved to process vast amounts of information quickly, often in situations where speed is more critical than perfect accuracy. Biases and heuristics serve as mental shortcuts, allowing us to make rapid judgments and decisions without expending too much mental energy. From an evolutionary perspective, many of these biases likely provided survival advantages to our ancestors. For instance, the tendency to quickly identify potential threats, even if it sometimes led to false alarms, was crucial in dangerous environments. However, in our modern world, where the challenges we face are often more complex and nuanced, these same biases can lead us astray. The impact of cognitive biases on critical thinking cannot be overstated. They distort our perception of reality, causing us to see the world not as it truly is, but as our biased minds interpret it. This distortion can have far-reaching implications for decision-making, affecting everything from personal relationships to business strategies and even global policies. Consider how confirmation bias, our tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs, can lead us to ignore contradictory evidence and reinforce potentially flawed ideas. Or how the sunk cost fallacy might cause us to persist with failing projects or relationships simply because we've already invested time and resources into them. These are just a glimpse of the many ways biases can undermine our ability to think critically and make sound decisions. So, what's involved in overcoming these biases, and what are the most important steps? The journey begins with identifying common biases. Throughout this book, we'll explore 21 cognitive biases, grouped into 7 categories, each offering unique insights into the workings of our minds. From perception and attention biases to those affecting our memory, beliefs, decision-making processes, emotions, risk assessment, and social interactions, we'll uncover the hidden influences shaping your thoughts and actions. But identification alone is not enough. Developing self-awareness is crucial. This involves not just recognizing biases in abstract terms, but learning to spot them in your own thinking patterns. It's about cultivating a mindset of curiosity and skepticism towards your own thoughts and judgments. Why are these steps important, and why have they been arranged in this particular order? The approach taken in this book follows a logical progression from awareness to action. By first understanding what cognitive biases are and how they operate, you lay the foundation for recognizing them in your own thinking. This awareness then becomes the springboard for developing strategies to mitigate their effects. The 21 cognitive biases discussed in this book, grouped into 7 categories, offer a comprehensive overview of the major ways our thinking can be skewed. This structure allows you to see how biases interact and influence different aspects of our cognitive processes, from how we perceive information to how we make decisions and interact with others. As you progress through the chapters, you'll build a solid foundation for further exploration. Each bias you uncover, each mental trap you learn to avoid, will enhance your critical thinking skills and decision-making abilities. You'll find yourself questioning assumptions, seeking out diverse perspectives, and approaching problems with a more nuanced understanding of the cognitive landscape. But this journey is not without its challenges. Recognizing and overcoming cognitive biases requires constant vigilance and practice. It's a skill that develops over time, with each new insight building upon the last. You may find some biases easier to spot in others than in yourself, or struggle with old thought patterns that resist change. These are normal parts of the process, and each challenge overcome represents a step towards greater cognitive clarity. As we conclude this introductory chapter, you stand at the threshold of a fascinating journey into the inner workings of your mind. The path ahead will reveal insights about how you think, decide, and interact with the world around you. It will challenge your assumptions and push you to question beliefs you may have held for years. But the rewards of this journey are immense. Imagine being able to see through the fog of bias that clouds so many of our judgments. Picture yourself making decisions with greater confidence, understanding the motivations behind your actions and those of others with newfound clarity. This is the power of recognizing and overcoming cognitive biases. In the chapters that follow, we'll delve deeper into specific categories of biases, exploring how they manifest in various aspects of our lives. From the way we perceive and remember information to how we form beliefs and make decisions, each chapter will unveil new layers of understanding about the human mind. As you turn the page to Chapter 2, prepare to explore the intriguing world of perception and attention biases. These fundamental cognitive processes shape how we interpret the world around us from the very first moment we encounter new information. What hidden influences might be shaping your perceptions without you even realizing it? The answers may surprise you, and they're just the beginning of the revelations that await in the pages ahead. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2: Perception and Attention Biases. Have you ever wondered why two people can witness the same event and come away with completely different interpretations? Or why certain memories seem to stick with us more vividly than others? The answers lie in the fascinating realm of perception and attention biases, the hidden filters through which we process the world around us. As we embark on this exploration of how our minds interpret information, it's crucial to understand why this knowledge is so vital for enhancing our critical thinking and decision-making abilities. Imagine your mind as a sophisticated camera, constantly capturing and processing the scenes of your life. Now picture that camera with a set of invisible filters that subtly alter each image it captures. These filters are your perception and attention biases, silently shaping your view of reality from the very first moment you encounter new information. By understanding these biases, you lay the foundation for more accurate information processing. This accuracy is the bedrock upon which rational thought is built. After all, how can we expect to make sound decisions if the very information we're basing those decisions on is distorted from the start? Let's begin our journey by exploring a particularly powerful bias that affects our initial judgments. Imagine you're shopping for a new car, and the first price you see is $30,000. As you continue browsing, you might find yourself mentally comparing every other car to that $30,000 benchmark. This phenomenon is known as the anchoring bias, a cognitive quirk that causes us to rely too heavily on the first piece of information we encounter when making decisions. The anchoring bias doesn't just affect our shopping habits, it permeates nearly every aspect of our decision-making processes. In negotiations, the first offer often serves as an anchor, influencing the entire conversation that follows. In courtrooms, judges' sentencing decisions can be swayed by the initial punishment proposed. Even our perceptions of people can be anchored by first impressions, coloring our interactions long after that initial encounter. Understanding the anchoring bias is like gaining X-ray vision for your thought processes. You start to notice how often your judgments are influenced by that first piece of information, whether it's relevant or not. This awareness is the first step towards making more balanced, informed decisions. But our journey through the landscape of perception biases doesn't end there. Have you ever noticed how, after hearing about a particular type of car, you suddenly seem to see it everywhere? This isn't mere coincidence. It's a manifestation of another fascinating cognitive quirk known as the availability heuristic. The availability heuristic plays a significant role in how we perceive the world around us. It causes us to overestimate the importance or frequency of things that are more readily available in our memory. Recent events, vivid experiences, or frequently encountered information tend to spring to mind more easily, leading us to believe they're more common or significant than they actually are. This bias can have profound effects on our decision-making. For instance, after hearing news reports about a plane crash, some people might overestimate the dangers of air travel, even though statistically it remains one of the safest forms of transportation. Similarly, a doctor who has recently treated several cases of a rare disease might overestimate its prevalence in the general population. By recognizing the influence of the availability heuristic, you gain a powerful tool for more objective analysis. You start to question whether your perceptions are based on a representative sample of information or merely on what comes to mind most easily. As we delve deeper into the realm of perception biases, we encounter a phenomenon that particularly affects our social interactions. Have you ever felt like all eyes were on you after making a small mistake or wearing a new outfit? This heightened sense of being observed is known as the spotlight effect, and it's another way our perceptions can lead us astray. The spotlight effect leads us to exaggerate how much attention others are paying to our appearance and behavior. In reality, people are generally far less focused on us than we imagine. This bias can lead to unnecessary anxiety in social situations and can even influence our decision-making processes. Understanding the spotlight effect can be liberating. It allows us to navigate social situations with more confidence, knowing that minor slip-ups or imperfections are likely to go unnoticed by others. This awareness can lead to more authentic interactions and reduce social anxiety. Now that we've explored these fascinating biases, you might be wondering how to put this knowledge into practice. One effective exercise is to start identifying anchors in your daily decisions. The next time you're making a choice, pause and ask yourself, is there an initial piece of information that's unduly influencing my decision? This simple act of reflection can help you break free from the anchoring bias and consider a broader range of options. Another valuable practice is to reflect on recent influences. Take a moment each day to consider what information you've been exposed to recently. Are there any topics or events that seem particularly prominent in your mind? By recognizing these recent influences, you can better account for the availability heuristic in your thinking. As you continue to practice recognizing and mitigating these biases, you'll likely see a range of positive outcomes. At a good level, you'll develop an improved awareness of biases, catching yourself in moments where your perceptions might be skewed. This awareness alone can lead to more thoughtful decision-making. With excellent progress, you'll achieve enhanced perception accuracy. You'll find yourself naturally considering a wider range of information before making judgments, leading to more balanced and informed decisions. At the best level, you'll develop a mastery in managing perception biases. This doesn't mean eliminating biases entirely. They're an inherent part of human cognition, but rather, you'll be able to recognize them quickly and adjust your thinking accordingly. This mastery can lead to significantly improved decision-making across all areas of your life. Of course, the path to mastering perception biases isn't without its challenges. One common pitfall is misidentifying biases. You might start seeing biases everywhere, even in situations where they don't apply. To counter this, try keeping a reflective journal. Write down instances where you think you've identified a bias and then revisit these entries later with a critical eye. This practice can help you refine your bias detection skills over time. Another potential issue is overconfidence in bias recognition. As you become more aware of these cognitive quirks, you might assume you've conquered them entirely. However, biases are deeply ingrained and can still influence us even when we're aware of them. To combat this, seek feedback from others. Share your thoughts and decisions with trusted friends or colleagues and ask for their perspectives. This external input can provide valuable checks on your thinking. As we conclude this chapter on perception and attention biases, you've gained powerful insights into how your mind processes information from the very start. You've learned about the anchoring bias and how initial information can shape our judgments, the availability heuristic and its influence on our perceptions of frequency and importance, and the spotlight effect and its impact on our social interactions. But this is just the beginning of our journey through the landscape of cognitive biases. As we move forward, we'll explore how these initial perceptions are stored and recalled, shaping our memories in ways you might never have imagined. What hidden forces might be at play in your recollections of past events? The answers await in our next chapter, where we'll unravel the mysteries of memory biases and their profound impact on our understanding of the world. Chapter 3: Memory and Recall Biases. Have you ever confidently recalled an event from your past, only to discover later that your memory wasn't quite as accurate as you thought? Or perhaps you found yourself struggling to remember information you once knew by heart, now that it's readily available at your fingertips. These experiences hint at the fascinating world of memory and recall biases, a realm where our minds play subtle tricks on us, shaping our understanding of the past and influencing our future decisions. As we delve into this chapter, it's crucial to understand why exploring these biases is so important for enhancing our critical thinking and decision-making abilities. Our memories serve as the foundation upon which we build our understanding of the world. They inform our beliefs, guide our actions, and shape our identities. But what if this foundation isn't as solid as we believe? Imagine your memory as a vast library filled with books containing every experience you've ever had. Now, picture an unseen librarian constantly rearranging these books, sometimes altering their contents, or even misplacing them entirely. This librarian represents the various biases that affect our memory and recall. By understanding how this librarian operates, we can become more discerning readers of our own past, leading to more accurate recall of information and laying a stronger foundation for informed decisions. Let's begin our exploration with a phenomenon that affects how we view past events. Think back to a significant moment in your life, perhaps a career decision or a personal relationship. Do you ever find yourself thinking, "I knew it all along," or "it was obvious that would happen"? This feeling of inevitability after the fact is a prime example of what psychologists call hindsight bias. Hindsight bias, often summed up as the "I knew it all along" effect, is a fascinating quirk of human memory. It causes us to believe, after an event has occurred, that we accurately predicted or expected it beforehand. This retrospective distortion can have profound effects on how we learn from past experiences and approach future decisions. Consider a business executive reflecting on a failed product launch. With hindsight bias in play, they might convince themselves that they saw the failure coming all along, even if they were actually optimistic about the product's prospects at the time. This distorted view can prevent them from accurately analyzing what went wrong and learning valuable lessons for future ventures. The implications of hindsight bias extend far beyond individual decisions. In fields like politics, finance, and healthcare, this bias can lead to flawed analyses of past events, potentially influencing future policies and strategies. By recognizing and accounting for hindsight bias, we can approach our past experiences with a more critical eye, extracting more accurate and useful insights. But our journey through memory biases doesn't end there. In our modern, digitally connected world, we've developed a new relationship with information, one that's changing how we remember and recall facts. Have you ever found yourself reaching for your smartphone to look up a piece of information you're sure you once knew? This behavior is linked to a phenomenon known as the Google effect, or digital amnesia. The Google effect refers to our tendency to forget information that we know we can easily find online. It's as if our brains have outsourced the job of remembering certain types of information to our digital devices. While this can be incredibly convenient, it raises important questions about how this reliance on external memory aids affects our cognitive processes. Think about how often you use your smartphone or computer to look up information, directions to a familiar place, a recipe you've made before, or even a friend's phone number. These are all pieces of information we might once have committed to memory. Now, with instant access to vast amounts of data, our brains are adapting by remembering where to find information rather than the information itself. This shift in how we store and access information has significant implications for knowledge retention and critical thinking. While it frees up mental resources for other tasks, it may also be changing how we process and internalize information. Are we losing the ability to deeply engage with and retain important knowledge? Or are we evolving to become more efficient information processors? As we continue our exploration of memory biases, let's turn our attention to how we evaluate and remember experiences. Have you ever noticed that your memory of an event seems to be disproportionately influenced by certain moments, particularly how it ended? This phenomenon is known as the peak-end rule, and it plays a significant role in how we recall and evaluate past experiences. The peak-end rule suggests that our memory of an experience is not a perfect average of every moment. Instead, we tend to remember and judge an experience based primarily on its most intense point, the peak, and how it ended. This bias can significantly influence our decision-making and how we perceive past events. Consider a vacation you've taken. When you look back on it, you might find that your overall impression is shaped more by the most memorable moments and how the trip concluded, rather than a balanced assessment of the entire experience. This can lead to potentially skewed evaluations and decisions about future vacations. Understanding the peak-end rule can be particularly valuable in fields like customer service, healthcare, and education. By recognizing how people tend to remember experiences, we can design interactions and processes that leave a more positive, lasting impression. Now that we've explored these fascinating memory biases, you might be wondering how to put this knowledge into practice. One effective exercise is to practice recalling events without bias. The next time you reflect on a past experience, try to consciously consider all aspects of the event, not just the peaks and the ending. This can help you develop a more balanced and accurate recollection. Another valuable practice is to limit digital dependency. While it's unrealistic and probably undesirable to completely avoid using digital tools for information retrieval, try setting aside time each day to recall information from memory before reaching for your device. This can help strengthen your memory skills and reduce over-reliance on external aids. As you continue to practice recognizing and mitigating these memory biases, you're likely to see a range of positive outcomes. At a good level, you'll develop better memory retention, finding yourself able to recall information more readily without relying on external aids. This improved retention can lead to more efficient decision-making and problem-solving. With excellent progress, you'll achieve enhanced recall accuracy. You'll find yourself able to remember past events and experiences with greater detail and less distortion, leading to more insightful reflections and better-informed decisions. At the best level, you'll develop a mastery in managing memory biases. This doesn't mean eliminating these biases entirely. They're an inherent part of how our brains process and store information. Rather, you'll be able to recognize when these biases might be at play and adjust your thinking accordingly. This mastery can lead to significantly improved decision-making and a more accurate understanding of your past experiences. Of course, the path to mastering memory biases isn't without its challenges. One common pitfall is over-reliance on technology. While digital tools are incredibly useful, excessive dependence can weaken our natural memory abilities. To counter this, try incorporating regular memory exercises into your routine. This could be as simple as memorizing a short poem or trying to recall the details of your day before going to bed. Another potential issue is misjudging past events due to hindsight bias or the peak-end rule. To combat this, try using objective criteria when evaluating past experiences. Keep a journal where you record your thoughts and expectations before important events. This can serve as a valuable reference point later, helping you distinguish between what you actually knew or felt at the time and what your biased memory might be telling you. As we conclude this chapter on memory and recall biases, you've gained powerful insights into how your mind stores, retrieves, and sometimes distorts information from your past. You've learned about hindsight bias and its impact on how we interpret past events, the Google effect, and its implications for how we retain knowledge in the digital age, and the peak-end rule and its influence on how we evaluate experiences. But our journey through the landscape of cognitive biases is far from over. As we move forward, we'll explore how these memories and experiences shape our beliefs and thought patterns. What hidden forces might be at play in forming and maintaining your deepest convictions? The answers may surprise you as we delve into the intriguing world of belief and thought biases in our next chapter. Chapter 4: Belief and Thought Biases. Have you ever wondered why some people seem impervious to facts that contradict their beliefs? Or why heated arguments often leave both parties more convinced of their original positions? These puzzling phenomena hint at the complex world of belief and thought biases, a realm where our minds construct intricate fortresses around our convictions, often at the expense of objectivity and rational thinking. As we embark on this exploration of how our beliefs and thought processes can lead us astray, it's crucial to understand why this knowledge is so vital for enhancing our critical thinking and decision-making abilities. Our beliefs form the bedrock of our worldview, influencing everything from our daily choices to our most profound life decisions. But what if these foundational beliefs are built on shifting sands of bias rather than solid ground of objective reality? Imagine your mind as a vast courtroom where your beliefs stand as defendants. In an ideal world, this courtroom would be a place of impartial judgment, where evidence is weighed carefully and conclusions are drawn objectively. However, in reality, this courtroom is often presided over by a biased judge, your own mind, eager to validate existing beliefs and dismiss contradictory evidence. By understanding the biases that shape our beliefs and thought processes, we can strive for a more objective evaluation of our convictions. This awareness allows us to resist flawed logic and make choices based on a more accurate understanding of the world around us. It's a challenging journey, one that requires us to question our most deeply held beliefs, but the rewards in terms of enhanced critical thinking are immeasurable. Let's begin our exploration with a bias that often acts as the gatekeeper of our beliefs. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to find information that supports your existing views, while contradictory evidence seems scarce or unconvincing? This tendency to seek out confirmatory evidence while dismissing or downplaying contradictory information is known as confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is like a selective filter on reality, coloring how we perceive and interpret information. It leads us to pay more attention to data that aligns with our pre-existing beliefs and to be more skeptical of information that challenges them. This bias doesn't just affect how we process new information, it also influences what information we seek out in the first place. Consider a political debate. Someone firmly aligned with a particular party might primarily consume news from sources that align with their views, reinforcing their existing beliefs. When confronted with contradictory information, they might dismiss it as biased or find ways to interpret it that fit their existing worldview. This selective processing of information can lead to increasingly polarized views and a resistance to changing one's mind in the face of new evidence. The impact of confirmation bias extends far beyond politics. In scientific research, it can lead to skewed interpretations of data. In business, it might cause leaders to overlook warning signs that contradict their vision. Even in our personal lives, it can reinforce stereotypes and prejudices, making it harder to see people and situations objectively. But what happens when we encounter information that directly contradicts our firmly held beliefs? This brings us to another fascinating aspect of human cognition: cognitive dissonance. Have you ever felt a sense of discomfort when faced with ideas that challenge your existing beliefs? This mental tension is at the heart of cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance arises when we maintain two or more contradictory beliefs, ideas, or values simultaneously. This psychological discomfort often leads us to engage in mental gymnastics to resolve the contradiction and maintain our existing beliefs. It's as if our minds are constantly seeking harmony among our thoughts, even if that harmony comes at the expense of accuracy. For example, someone who considers themselves environmentally conscious but frequently uses disposable plastics might experience cognitive dissonance. To resolve this tension, they might downplay the environmental impact of their actions, emphasize other eco-friendly behaviors they engage in, or simply avoid thinking about the contradiction altogether. Understanding cognitive dissonance is crucial because it often acts as a barrier to learning and personal growth. It can prevent us from accepting new information that might be beneficial but conflicts with our existing beliefs. By recognizing when we're experiencing cognitive dissonance, we can choose to lean into the discomfort, using it as an opportunity for self-reflection and potential belief revision. As we delve deeper into the realm of belief and thought biases, we encounter a particularly insidious phenomenon known as naive realism. Have you ever wondered why it's so easy to spot bias in others, but so difficult to recognize it in yourself? This is naive realism at work. Naive realism is the belief that we see the world objectively as it truly is, while others who disagree with us must be biased or misinformed. It's a form of bias that masquerades as objectivity, making it particularly challenging to overcome. After all, if we believe we're seeing things clearly, why would we question our perceptions? This bias can have profound effects on our interactions with others and our ability to engage in constructive dialogue. When we assume that our view is the correct one, we're less likely to consider alternative perspectives or seek out information that might challenge our beliefs. This can lead to miscommunications, disagreements, and missed opportunities for learning and growth. Recognizing naive realism in ourselves is a crucial step towards more objective thinking. It requires a level of intellectual humility, an acknowledgement that our perceptions and beliefs might be influenced by factors we're not fully aware of. By cultivating this humility, we open ourselves up to a wider range of perspectives and a more nuanced understanding of the world. Now that we've explored these fascinating biases, you might be wondering how to put this knowledge into practice. One effective exercise is to actively challenge your pre-existing beliefs. Try this. Choose a belief you hold strongly and spend some time researching arguments against it. Approach this task with genuine curiosity rather than defensiveness. You might be surprised by what you learn, and even if your belief remains unchanged, you'll have a more nuanced understanding of the issue. Another valuable practice is to embrace contradictory information. The next time you encounter data or opinions that contradict your views, resist the urge to immediately dismiss them. Instead, engage with the information critically but open-mindedly. Ask yourself, what if this were true? How would it change my understanding? As you continue to practice recognizing and mitigating these belief and thought biases, you're likely to see a range of positive outcomes. At a good level, you'll develop an openness to new ideas. You'll find yourself more willing to consider alternative viewpoints and less quick to dismiss information that challenges your beliefs. With excellent progress, you'll achieve more balanced belief systems. Your views on complex issues will become more nuanced, incorporating a wider range of perspectives and evidence. This balance can lead to better decision-making and more productive interactions with others who hold different views. At the best level, you'll develop a mastery in managing thought biases. This doesn't mean eliminating these biases entirely. They're an inherent part of human cognition. Rather, you'll be able to recognize when these biases might be influencing your thinking and adjust accordingly. This mastery can lead to significantly improved critical thinking skills and a more accurate understanding of the world around you. Of course, the path to mastering belief and thought biases isn't without its challenges. One common pitfall is resistance to change. Even when presented with compelling evidence, we often cling to our existing beliefs. To counter this, try engaging in open discussions with people who hold different views. The goal isn't to change anyone's mind, but to practice considering alternative perspectives. Another potential issue is overconfidence in our own objectivity. Remember, naive realism can make us blind to our own biases. To combat this, actively seek out diverse perspectives. Read books, articles, and engage with people who come from different backgrounds and hold different views. This exposure can help you recognize the limitations of your own perspective and develop a more nuanced worldview. As we conclude this chapter on belief and thought biases, you've gained powerful insights into how your mind constructs and maintains your beliefs, often in ways that prioritize consistency over accuracy. You've learned about confirmation bias and its role in reinforcing existing beliefs, cognitive dissonance and the mental gymnastics we perform to resolve contradictory information, and naive realism and its impact on our perception of objectivity. But our journey through the landscape of cognitive biases is far from over. As we move forward, we'll explore how these beliefs and thought patterns influence our actions in the real world. What hidden forces might be guiding your decisions, even when you think you're being perfectly rational? The answers may surprise you as we delve into the intriguing world of decision-making biases in our next chapter. Prepare to uncover the invisible hands that shape your choices and perhaps discover why that bargain purchase wasn't such a good deal after all. Chapter 5: Decision-Making and Judgment Biases. Have you ever found yourself stubbornly sticking with a project long after it's clear it's not working out? Or perhaps you've confidently embarked on a task only to find yourself scrambling as deadlines loom and resources dwindle. These common experiences hint at the fascinating world of decision-making and judgment biases, a realm where our choices are often guided by hidden forces we may not even be aware of. As we embark on this exploration of how our decision-making processes can lead us astray, it's crucial to understand why this knowledge is so vital for enhancing our critical thinking abilities. Our decisions shape our lives, from the small daily choices we make to the big life-altering ones. But what if these decisions are being influenced by subtle cognitive biases that push us towards irrational choices? Imagine your mind as a complex machine designed to make decisions quickly and efficiently. This machine has served us well throughout human evolution, allowing us to make split-second judgments that could mean the difference between survival and peril. However, in our modern world, where decisions are often more complex and nuanced, these same mental shortcuts can lead us astray. By understanding the biases that influence our decision-making and judgment, we can strive for more rational decision-making processes. This awareness allows us to minimize errors and make choices that are more aligned with our true goals and values. It's a challenging journey, one that requires us to question our instincts and intuitions, but the rewards in terms of improved outcomes are immeasurable. Let's begin our exploration with a bias that often keeps us trapped in suboptimal situations. Have you ever continued with a course of action simply because you've already invested time, money, or effort into it, even when it's clear that cutting your losses would be the wiser choice? This tendency to stick with a decision because of past investments is known as the sunk cost fallacy. The sunk cost fallacy is like a mental quicksand that keeps us committed to failing endeavors. It leads us to throw good money after bad, to persist with unproductive relationships, or to continue with projects that are clearly not working out. This bias doesn't just affect individuals. It can influence decisions at the highest levels of business and government, leading to the continuation of failing policies or investments. Consider a scenario where you've spent months working on a project at work. As the deadline approaches, it becomes clear that the project is fundamentally flawed and unlikely to succeed. The rational choice would be to cut your losses and redirect resources to more promising ventures. However, the sunk cost fallacy might push you to continue, reasoning that all the time and effort already invested would be wasted if you abandoned the project now. Understanding the sunk cost fallacy is crucial because it often leads to irrational escalation of commitment. By recognizing when this bias is influencing our decisions, we can step back and evaluate our choices more objectively, based on future prospects rather than past investments. But what about those times when we're not trapped by past decisions, but rather propelled forward by an excess of confidence? This brings us to another fascinating aspect of human decision-making, the overconfidence bias. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to overestimate your abilities or the likelihood of positive outcomes? Overconfidence bias is like a mental magnifying glass that amplifies our perception of our own skills and knowledge. It can lead us to underestimate risks, overestimate our abilities, and make decisions based on inflated expectations of success. While confidence can be a positive trait, excessive confidence can lead to poor decision-making and unnecessary risk-taking. For example, an entrepreneur might launch a new business venture, confident that their product will be a massive success. This confidence might lead them to overlook important market research, underestimate competition, or invest more resources than prudent. While some level of confidence is necessary for taking risks and pursuing goals, unchecked overconfidence can lead to costly mistakes. Understanding overconfidence bias is crucial because it often acts as a blindfold, preventing us from seeing potential pitfalls or considering alternative viewpoints. By recognizing when we might be overconfident, we can take steps to balance our optimism with a more realistic assessment of situations. As we delve deeper into the realm of decision-making biases, we encounter a particularly troublesome phenomenon known as the planning fallacy. Have you ever wondered why projects so often run over budget and past deadlines, despite our best efforts to plan accurately? This tendency to underestimate the time, costs, and risks associated with future actions is at the heart of the planning fallacy. The planning fallacy is like a pair of rose-tinted glasses that we put on whenever we look towards the future. It causes us to create overly optimistic plans, overlooking potential obstacles and complications. This bias doesn't just affect individuals. It's a common issue in project management across various fields, from construction to software development. Consider a home renovation project. You might estimate it will take a month and cost a certain amount based on your best-case scenario planning. However, this estimate likely fails to account for potential delays, unexpected issues, or hidden costs. The planning fallacy leads us to focus on ideal scenarios rather than realistic ones, often resulting in frustration and resource overruns. Recognizing the planning fallacy in ourselves is a crucial step towards more accurate planning and decision-making. It requires us to temper our optimism with a dose of realism, considering not just what we hope will happen, but what is likely to happen based on past experiences and potential complications. Now that we've explored these fascinating biases, you might be wondering how to put this knowledge into practice. One effective exercise is to evaluate your past decisions objectively. Try this. Choose a significant decision you've made in the past and analyze it critically. Were you influenced by sunk costs? Did overconfidence play a role? How accurate was your initial planning? This retrospective analysis can help you identify patterns in your decision-making and areas for improvement. Another valuable practice is to balance confidence with caution. The next time you're making an important decision or planning a project, consciously consider potential obstacles and setbacks. Try to base your estimates on past experiences rather than optimistic projections. This balanced approach can lead to more realistic planning and better decision-making. As you continue to practice recognizing and mitigating these decision-making biases, you're likely to see a range of positive outcomes. At a good level, you'll experience improved decision-making. You'll find yourself more able to cut losses when necessary, more realistic in your planning, and more balanced in your assessment of risks and rewards. With excellent progress, you'll achieve more rational judgment. Your decisions will be based less on emotional attachments or overconfidence and more on objective analysis of facts and probabilities. This rationality can lead to better outcomes in both personal and professional spheres. At the best level, you'll develop a mastery in managing decision biases. This doesn't mean eliminating these biases entirely. They're an inherent part of human cognition. Rather, you'll be able to recognize when these biases might be influencing your choices and adjust your decision-making processes accordingly. This mastery can lead to significantly improved outcomes across all areas of your life. Of course, the path to mastering decision-making biases isn't without its challenges. One common pitfall is ignoring past mistakes. It's often uncomfortable to reflect on decisions that didn't pan out well, but this reflection is crucial for improvement. To counter this, make it a habit to conduct post-mortems on significant decisions, whether they turned out well or poorly. What can you learn from the experience? How can you apply these lessons to future decisions? Another potential issue is overconfidence in planning. Even when we're aware of the planning fallacy, it's easy to fall back into overly optimistic projections. To combat this, try using checklists and structured planning tools. These can help ensure you're considering all relevant factors and not just focusing on best-case scenarios. As we conclude this chapter on decision-making and judgment biases, you've gained powerful insights into how your mind navigates the complex landscape of choices and plans. You've learned about the sunk cost fallacy and its role in keeping us committed to failing courses of action, overconfidence bias and its impact on risk assessment, and the planning fallacy and its effect on our ability to accurately forecast future events and resource needs. But our journey through the landscape of cognitive biases is far from over. As we move forward, we'll explore how our emotions and motivations can color our perceptions and decisions in ways we might not expect. What hidden feelings might be guiding your choices, even when you think you're being perfectly logical? The answers may surprise you as we delve into the intriguing world of emotional and motivational biases in our next chapter. Prepare to uncover the invisible strings that pull at your heart and mind, and perhaps discover why that impulse purchase felt so right in the moment, but so wrong in hindsight. Chapter 6: Emotion and Motivation Biases. Have you ever made a decision in the heat of the moment, only to regret it later when cooler heads prevailed? Or perhaps you found yourself resisting sound advice simply because you felt your freedom of choice was being threatened. These common experiences hint at the powerful influence of emotions and motivations on our decision-making processes, often leading us down paths that our rational minds might question. As we embark on this exploration of how our emotions and motivations can color our judgments, it's crucial to understand why this knowledge is so vital for enhancing our critical thinking abilities. Our emotions are an integral part of who we are, shaping our experiences and guiding our actions. But what if these same emotions are subtly nudging us towards biased reasoning and flawed decisions? Imagine your mind as a sophisticated instrument capable of processing complex information and making nuanced decisions. Now, picture this instrument being played not just by the cool, logical part of your brain, but also by a passionate, sometimes impulsive, emotional conductor. This interplay between reason and emotion is what makes us human, but it can also lead us astray if we're not aware of its influence. By understanding the biases that stem from our emotions and motivations, we can strive for better emotional regulation and more objective analysis in our decision-making processes. This awareness allows us to harness the power of our emotions while minimizing their potential to distort our judgments. It's a delicate balance, one that requires us to acknowledge and work with our feelings rather than trying to suppress them entirely. Let's begin our exploration with a bias that often colors how we view our own successes and failures. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to take credit for your successes, but attribute failures to external factors? This tendency to protect our self-esteem by taking more responsibility for positive outcomes than negative ones is known as the self-serving bias. The self-serving bias is like a personal public relations agent in our minds, always ready to spin events in our favor. When we succeed, it's because of our skills, hard work, or innate talents. When we fail, it's due to bad luck, unfair circumstances, or the actions of others. This bias doesn't just affect how we view past events. It can also influence our future decisions and behaviors. Consider a student who performs well on an exam. The self-serving bias might lead them to attribute their success entirely to their intelligence and study habits. However, if they perform poorly on the next exam, they might blame the difficulty of the test or distractions in their environment. While this bias can protect our self-esteem in the short term, it can also prevent us from accurately assessing our strengths and weaknesses, hindering personal growth and learning. Understanding the self-serving bias is crucial because it can lead to a distorted self-perception and unrealistic expectations. By recognizing when this bias is influencing our thinking, we can strive for a more balanced and accurate view of our abilities and the factors contributing to our successes and failures. But what about those times when we're not just interpreting past events, but trying to influence future outcomes? This brings us to another fascinating aspect of human cognition, the illusion of control. Have you ever found yourself believing you could influence an outcome that was, in reality, entirely up to chance? The illusion of control is like a mental superpower we grant ourselves, leading us to overestimate our ability to influence events that are largely or entirely outside our control. This bias can manifest in many ways, from believing we can impact the outcome of a coin toss by concentrating hard enough, to thinking we can avoid bad luck by following certain rituals. For example, a gambler might believe they have a system for winning at roulette, despite the game being purely chance-based. This illusion of control might lead them to take greater risks, potentially resulting in significant losses. In less extreme cases, this bias might cause us to overestimate our ability to avoid accidents or to control how others perceive us. Understanding the illusion of control is crucial because it often leads to unnecessary stress and poor decision-making, especially in situations involving risk. By recognizing when we might be overestimating our influence, we can make more realistic assessments of situations and take more appropriate actions. As we delve deeper into the realm of emotion and motivation biases, we encounter a particularly interesting phenomenon known as reactance. Have you ever felt a strong urge to do something simply because someone told you not to? This psychological reaction to the perception that our freedom of choice is being threatened is at the heart of reactance. Reactance is like a rebellious teenager in our minds, always ready to assert its independence when it feels our autonomy is under threat. It can cause us to resist persuasion, even when the proposed action might be in our best interest. This bias doesn't just affect how we respond to direct commands. It can also influence our reactions to social norms, laws, and even well-intentioned advice from loved ones. Consider a scenario where a friend advises you to eat healthier. Even if you know they're right, you might feel a sudden urge to indulge in junk food simply because you feel your freedom of choice is being restricted. Reactance can lead us to make decisions that go against our own best interests simply to assert our autonomy. Recognizing reactance in ourselves is a crucial step towards more rational decision-making. It requires us to pause and consider whether our resistance to an idea or course of action is based on its actual merits or simply a knee-jerk reaction to a perceived threat to our freedom. Now that we've explored these fascinating biases, you might be wondering how to put this knowledge into practice. One effective exercise is to reflect on emotional decisions you've made in the past. Try this. Think of a time when you made a decision in a highly emotional state. With the benefit of hindsight, how do you view that decision now? Were there any biases at play? This kind of reflection can help you become more aware of how your emotions influence your choices. Another valuable practice is to work on balancing control and acceptance. The next time you're faced with a situation where you feel the urge to exert control, pause and consider what aspects are truly within your influence and what aspects you might need to accept. This balanced approach can lead to more realistic expectations and less stress. As you continue to practice recognizing and mitigating these emotion and motivation biases, you're likely to see a range of positive outcomes. At a good level, you'll develop greater emotional awareness. You'll find yourself more attuned to how your feelings are influencing your thoughts and decisions, allowing you to make more conscious choices. With excellent progress, you'll achieve more balanced motivation. Your actions will be driven less by knee-jerk emotional reactions or a need to assert control, and more by a thoughtful consideration of your true goals and values. This balance can lead to better decision-making and more fulfilling relationships. At the best level, you'll develop a mastery in managing emotional biases. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions. They're an important part of the human experience. Rather, you'll be able to recognize when these biases might be influencing your choices and use your emotions as valuable input in your decision-making process without being overly swayed by them. Of course, the path to mastering emotion and motivation biases isn't without its challenges. One common pitfall is emotional overreaction. Even when we're aware of our biases, strong emotions can still overwhelm our rational thinking. To counter this, try practicing mindfulness techniques. These can help you create a mental space between your emotions and your actions, allowing for more thoughtful responses. Another potential issue is misjudging the level of control we have in various situations. To combat this, work on setting realistic expectations. Before taking action, ask yourself, what aspects of this situation can I actually influence, and what do I need to accept? This realistic assessment can lead to more effective actions and less frustration. As we conclude this chapter on emotion and motivation biases, you've gained powerful insights into how your feelings and desires can shape your perceptions and decisions. You've learned about the self-serving bias and its role in protecting our self-esteem, the illusion of control and its impact on risk assessment, and reactance and its effect on our response to perceived threats to our autonomy. But our journey through the landscape of cognitive biases is far from over. As we move forward, we'll explore how our minds grapple with uncertainty and probability, often leading to surprising errors in judgment. What hidden miscalculations might be influencing your assessment of risks and chances? The answers may startle you as we delve into the intriguing world of risk and probability biases in our next chapter. Prepare to uncover the invisible distortions in your mental math and perhaps discover why that sure-thing investment wasn't so sure after all. Chapter 7. Risk and Probability Biases. Have you ever found yourself convinced that your luck is about to change after a string of losses? Or perhaps you've opted for a product that promises to eliminate a small risk entirely, even when a cheaper alternative could have reduced a much larger risk. These common experiences hint at the fascinating world of risk and probability biases, a realm where our intuitive understanding of chance and danger often leads us astray. As we embark on this exploration of how our minds grapple with uncertainty and risk, it's crucial to understand why this knowledge is so vital for enhancing our critical thinking abilities. In a world filled with complex choices and uncertain outcomes, our ability to accurately assess risks and probabilities can have profound impacts on our lives. But what if our mental calculators for risk and chance are fundamentally flawed? Imagine your mind as a sophisticated probability machine, constantly evaluating risks and chances to guide your decisions. Now, picture this machine with a few loose wires and faulty circuits, occasionally spitting out results that seem logical but are fundamentally incorrect. This is the reality of how our brains often handle risk and probability, leading to judgments and decisions that can range from slightly off base to wildly inaccurate. By understanding the biases that affect our risk assessment and probability evaluation, we can strive for more accurate judgments in uncertain situations. This awareness allows us to make more informed decisions, whether we're considering financial investments, health choices, or simply deciding whether to carry an umbrella. It's a challenging journey, one that often requires us to question our intuitive understanding of chance. But the rewards in terms of better decision-making are immeasurable. Let's begin our exploration with a bias that often trips up even the most seasoned gamblers and investors. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to believe that a streak of bad luck must be about to end, or that previous outcomes somehow influence future random events? This tendency to misinterpret the nature of randomness is known as the gambler's fallacy. The gambler's fallacy is like a mischievous imp in our minds, whispering that the roulette ball is due to land on red after a string of blacks, or that a coin is more likely to come up heads after several tails in a row. This bias leads us to see patterns in random events where none actually exist, potentially leading to poor decisions in gambling, investing, and other areas involving chance. Consider a scenario where you're playing a game of chance, like flipping a coin. After seeing 5 heads in a row, you might feel strongly that the next flip is more likely to be tails. However, in reality, the probability of getting tails on the next flip remains 50%, regardless of previous outcomes. Each flip is an independent event, unaffected by what came before. Understanding the gambler's fallacy is crucial because it can lead to irrational decision-making in many areas of life. In finance, it might cause an investor to hold on to a losing stock, convinced that their luck must change soon. In sports, it might lead a coach to make substitutions based on a player's recent hot streak rather than their overall performance. But what about situations where we're not dealing with pure chance, but rather with actual risks that we can potentially influence? This brings us to another fascinating aspect of human risk assessment, the zero-risk bias. Have you ever found yourself drawn to products or solutions that promise to eliminate a risk entirely, even when other options might offer better overall risk reduction? The zero-risk bias is like a siren song in our minds, luring us towards the illusion of perfect safety, It leads us to prefer options that completely eliminate a small risk over alternatives that might provide a greater overall reduction in risk, but don't eliminate any single risk entirely. This bias can cause us to make suboptimal decisions, especially when dealing with complex situations involving multiple risks. For example, imagine you're choosing between two safety measures for your home. Option A eliminates the risk of a specific type of accident entirely, but is very expensive. Option B significantly reduces the risk of several types of accidents, providing a greater overall safety benefit at a lower cost, but doesn't completely eliminate any single risk. The zero-risk bias might lead you to choose option A, even though option B provides better overall risk reduction. Understanding the zero-risk bias is crucial because it often leads to inefficient allocation of resources in risk management. By recognizing when this bias might be influencing our decisions, we can make more balanced assessments that consider overall risk reduction rather than fixating on the elimination of specific risks. As we delve deeper into the realm of risk and probability biases, we encounter a particularly insidious phenomenon known as the base rate fallacy. Have you ever found yourself focusing on specific, vivid information while ignoring more general statistical data that might be more relevant to your decision? The base rate fallacy is like a mental spotlight that illuminates dramatic or personal information while leaving crucial background statistics in the shadows. It causes us to overlook general probabilities, base rates, in favor of more specific but often less relevant information. This bias can lead to significant errors in judgment, especially when dealing with medical diagnoses, legal decisions, or any situation involving statistical probabilities. Consider a scenario where you're assessing the risk of a rare disease. You might focus on the fact that you have a specific symptom associated with the disease, while ignoring the very low base rate of the disease in the general population. This could lead to unnecessary worry or even invasive tests when the overall probability of having the disease remains very low. Recognizing the base rate fallacy in ourselves is a crucial step towards more accurate risk assessment. It requires us to consciously consider broader statistical information, even when more specific or dramatic data seems more immediately relevant. Now that we've explored these fascinating biases, you might be wondering how to put this knowledge into practice. One effective exercise is to practice evaluating risks objectively. Try this. The next time you're faced with a decision involving risk, write down your initial risk assessment. Then, consciously look for relevant statistical information and see how it might change your evaluation. This practice can help you become more aware of how your intuitive judgments might be biased. Another valuable practice is to incorporate statistical data into your decision-making process more regularly. When faced with a choice, ask yourself, what do the numbers say about this? This habit can help counteract the tendency to rely too heavily on anecdotal or vivid information. As you continue to practice recognizing and mitigating these risk and probability biases, you're likely to see a range of positive outcomes. At a good level, you'll experience improved risk assessment. You'll find yourself more able to distinguish between actual risks and perceived risks, leading to more rational decision-making. With excellent progress, you'll achieve more rational probability evaluation. Your understanding of chance events will become more accurate, allowing you to make better predictions and avoid common pitfalls in probabilistic thinking. At the best level, you'll develop a mastery in managing risk biases. This doesn't mean eliminating these biases entirely. They're an inherent part of human cognition. Rather, you'll be able to recognize when these biases might be influencing your judgments and adjust your thinking accordingly. This mastery can lead to significantly improved decision-making in uncertain situations. Of course, the path to mastering risk and probability biases isn't without its challenges. One common pitfall is misjudging risks due to emotional factors or vivid anecdotes. To counter this, try using statistical analysis tools when making important decisions involving risk. These can provide a more objective basis for your judgments. Another potential issue is ignoring base rates in favor of more specific information. To combat this, make it a habit to consult experts or reliable sources for relevant statistical information before making significant decisions. This can help ensure you're considering all relevant data, not just what's most immediately apparent or emotionally impactful. As we conclude this chapter on risk and probability biases, you've gained powerful insights into how your mind navigates the complex landscape of chance and uncertainty. You've learned about the gambler's fallacy and its role in misinterpreting random events, the zero-risk bias and its impact on risk management decisions, and the base rate fallacy and its effect on our ability to accurately assess probabilities. But our journey through the landscape of cognitive biases is far from over. As we move forward, we'll explore how these individual biases play out on a larger scale, shaping not just personal decisions, but entire social dynamics. What hidden forces might be influencing your interactions with others and your place in society? The answers may surprise you as we delve into the intriguing world of social and group dynamics biases in our next chapter. Prepare to uncover the invisible threads that connect us all, and perhaps discover why that popular opinion you've always held might not be as universally accepted as you thought. Chapter 8: Social and Group Dynamics Biases. Have you ever found yourself agreeing with a group decision even when you had doubts? Or perhaps you've noticed how easy it is to favor members of your own social group over others. These common experiences hint at the fascinating world of social and group dynamics biases, a realm where our individual thoughts and behaviors are subtly shaped by the people around us and the societies we live in. As we embark on this exploration of how our social contexts influence our thinking and decision-making, it's crucial to understand why this knowledge is so vital for enhancing our critical thinking abilities. We are, after all, social creatures, and our interactions with others play a significant role in shaping our beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors. But what if these social influences are nudging us towards biased thinking and flawed decisions? Imagine your mind as a unique instrument in a vast orchestra. While you have your own distinct voice, your performance is inevitably influenced by the musicians around you. Sometimes this leads to beautiful harmony, but other times it can result in discordant notes that detract from the overall composition. This interplay between individual thought and group influence is what makes human societies so complex and fascinating, but it can also lead us astray if we're not aware of its effects. By understanding the biases that stem from our social interactions and group memberships, we can strive for a better balance between social harmony and independent thinking. This awareness allows us to harness the power of collective wisdom while maintaining our ability to think critically and make independent judgments. It's a delicate balance, one that requires us to be both connected to our social groups and capable of stepping back to evaluate situations objectively. Let's begin our exploration with a bias that often sweeps us along in its current, sometimes before we even realize what's happening. Have you ever noticed how a trend or opinion can suddenly seem to be everywhere, with everyone jumping on board? This tendency for people to adopt beliefs or behaviors simply because others are doing so is known as the bandwagon effect. The bandwagon effect is like a social avalanche, gathering momentum as it rolls downhill. It can influence everything from fashion trends and consumer choices to political opinions and social movements. While sometimes harmless or even beneficial, this effect can also lead to groupthink, where critical thinking is abandoned in favor of conformity. Consider a scenario where a new restaurant opens in town. Initially, only a few people try it out, but as word spreads and more people visit, it suddenly becomes the place to be. Soon, everyone's talking about it, and people are lining up just to say they've been there. The food might be excellent, but the bandwagon effect could be amplifying its popularity beyond its actual merits. Understanding the bandwagon effect is crucial because it can lead us to adopt beliefs or behaviors without critically evaluating them. By recognizing when this bias might be influencing us, we can take a step back and ask ourselves, am I doing this because I truly believe it's right, or simply because everyone else seems to be doing it? But what about those times when we're not just following the crowd, but actively favoring our own group over others. This brings us to another fascinating aspect of social cognition: in-group bias. Have you ever caught yourself automatically trusting or preferring people who belong to the same social groups as you, whether it's based on nationality, profession, or even something as trivial as supporting the same sports team? In-group bias is like a mental VIP list, giving preferential treatment to those we perceive as part of our group. This bias can manifest in many ways, from subtle favoritism in social interactions to more serious forms of prejudice and discrimination against outgroups. While a sense of group belonging can be positive, unchecked in-group bias can lead to unfair treatment of others and a narrow worldview. For example, in a workplace setting, managers might unconsciously favor employees who share their background or interests, potentially overlooking the talents and contributions of others. On a larger scale, in-group bias can contribute to societal divisions, prejudices, and conflicts between different social, ethnic, or national groups. Understanding in-group bias is crucial because it often operates below our conscious awareness, influencing our judgments and decisions in ways we might not realize. By recognizing when we might be favoring our in-group unfairly, we can strive for more objective and equitable treatment of all individuals, regardless of group membership. As we delve deeper into the realm of social and group dynamics biases, we encounter a particularly intriguing phenomenon known as system justification. Have you ever noticed how people sometimes defend and justify the status quo, even when the current system doesn't seem to be working in their favor? This tendency to support and defend the existing social, economic, and political arrangements is at the heart of system justification. System justification is like a mental inertia that resists changes to the established order. It can cause people to rationalize inequalities, defend flawed systems, and resist reforms, even when those changes might benefit them. This bias doesn't just affect how we view societal structures, it can also influence our personal lives, causing us to stick with suboptimal situations rather than pushing for change. Consider a scenario where employees in a company are facing unfair working conditions. Despite the clear disadvantages, some might still defend the company's practices, arguing that that's just how things are done, or it could be worse elsewhere. System justification can lead people to accept and even advocate for systems that may not be in their best interests. Recognizing system justification in ourselves and others is a crucial step towards promoting positive change. It requires us to question the status quo, even when it feels comfortable or familiar, and to critically evaluate whether existing systems are truly serving their intended purposes. Now that we've explored these fascinating biases, you might be wondering how to put this knowledge into practice. One effective exercise is to challenge group norms consciously. Try this. The next time you're in a group setting, whether it's a meeting at work or a social gathering, make a point of respectfully expressing a different viewpoint. This doesn't mean disagreeing for the sake of it, but rather ensuring that alternative perspectives are considered. Another valuable practice is to actively promote diversity of thought. Seek out opinions and ideas from people with different backgrounds and experiences than your own. This can help counteract in-group bias and expose you to a wider range of perspectives, enriching your understanding and decision-making processes. As you continue to practice recognizing and mitigating these social and group dynamics biases, you're likely to see a range of positive outcomes. At a good level, you'll develop greater awareness of social biases. You'll find yourself more attuned to how group dynamics and societal norms are influencing your thoughts and decisions, allowing you to make more conscious choices. With excellent progress, you'll achieve more independent thinking. Your actions and beliefs will be driven less by conformity or group pressure, and more by thoughtful consideration of various perspectives and your own values. This independence can lead to more innovative ideas and more authentic self-expression. At the best level, you'll develop a mastery in managing social biases. This doesn't mean completely detaching from social influences. They're an important part of the human experience. Rather, you'll be able to navigate social situations with greater awareness, balancing group harmony with independent critical thinking. Of course, the path to mastering social and group dynamics biases isn't without its challenges. One common pitfall is succumbing to conformity pressure. Even when we're aware of biases like the bandwagon effect, it can be difficult to stand apart from the group. To counter this, try encouraging open dialogue in your social and professional circles. Create an environment where varied opinions are welcomed and valued. Another potential issue is resistance to change, often fueled by system justification. To combat this, work on fostering inclusivity and openness to new ideas. Encourage yourself and others to question assumptions about how things are done and to consider alternative approaches. As we conclude this chapter on social and group dynamics biases, you've gained powerful insights into how your social context shapes your thoughts and behaviors. You've learned about the bandwagon effect and its role in promoting conformity, in-group bias and its impact on how we perceive and treat others, and system justification and its influence on maintaining existing social structures. But our journey through the landscape of cognitive biases is not yet complete. As we move forward to our final chapter, we'll step back and take a broader view, synthesizing all we've learned about these hidden influences on our thinking. What surprising connections might emerge when we consider all these biases together? How can we use this knowledge to truly transform our critical thinking and decision-making? The answers await in our concluding chapter, where we'll unveil the mind's mirage and discover how to navigate the complex landscape of our thoughts with newfound clarity and purpose. Chapter 9, Unveiling the Mind's Mirage. As we reach the culmination of our journey through the labyrinth of cognitive biases, it's time to step back and take in the full panorama of what we've discovered. Throughout this book, we've peeled back the layers of our minds, exposing the hidden influences that shape our thoughts, decisions, and actions. Now, as we stand at this vantage point, let's consider how this newfound knowledge can transform not just our thinking, but our lives as a whole. Imagine for a moment that you've been given a pair of special glasses. When you put them on, you suddenly see the world in a new light. The hidden currents of bias that once invisibly guided your thoughts now become visible, like streams of colorful energy flowing through your mind and the minds of those around you. This is the power of what you've learned in this book, a new lens through which to view yourself and the world. This enhanced self-awareness is perhaps the most immediate and profound gift of understanding cognitive biases. You now possess the ability to catch yourself in the act of biased thinking. When you feel the pull of the anchoring bias tugging at your judgment, or sense the warmth of the self-serving bias cloaking your failures in comforting excuses, you can pause, recognize these influences, and choose a different path. But this self-awareness extends beyond just recognizing biases. It opens up a new dimension of understanding about why you think and act the way you do. Those inexplicable gut feelings, the seemingly irrational fears, the stubborn beliefs that resist change, all of these now have context and explanation. This doesn't mean these feelings and beliefs disappear, but understanding their origins gives you the power to engage with them more productively. This heightened self-awareness naturally leads to improved critical thinking. Armed with knowledge of biases like confirmation bias and the availability heuristic, you can approach information and decisions with a more discerning eye. You'll find yourself automatically questioning your initial judgments, seeking out alternative viewpoints, and considering the broader context of situations before drawing conclusions. But the benefits of this journey extend far beyond your own mind. As you become more aware of the biases that influence your thinking, you'll also become more attuned to how they affect others. This awareness can dramatically improve your relationships, both personal and professional. Consider how understanding biases, like the fundamental attribution error or naive realism, can transform your interactions. When someone behaves in a way that frustrates or confuses you, instead of jumping to conclusions about their character or intentions, you'll be more likely to consider the situational factors and biases that might be influencing their behavior. This shift in perspective can lead to more empathetic and constructive communication. Moreover, your ability to recognize and articulate these biases can help others understand their own thinking better. Imagine being able to gently point out to a friend how the sunk cost fallacy might be keeping them in an unfulfilling job, or helping a colleague see how in-group bias might be affecting their hiring decisions. By sharing your knowledge, you can help create a ripple effect of more thoughtful, bias-aware thinking in your social and professional circles. Now, let's consider what you'll be able to achieve with this new set of cognitive tools. The most immediate and tangible benefit will be in your decision-making. Where once you might have been swayed by vivid anecdotes or recent experiences, you'll now be able to step back and consider the broader statistical picture, thanks to your understanding of the availability heuristic and base rate fallacy. When faced with complex decisions, you'll be able to recognize when the planning fallacy might be leading you to underestimate time and resources, or when the illusion of control might be causing you to take unnecessary risks. This more rational approach to decision-making can lead to better outcomes in all areas of your life, from personal finance and career choices to health decisions and relationships. But perhaps even more exciting than what you can achieve is how you'll achieve it. As you continue to practice the concepts in this book, you'll find that recognizing and mitigating biases becomes increasingly effortless. What once required conscious effort and deliberation will become second nature. Imagine a future where critical thinking is as natural as breathing, where you automatically consider multiple perspectives, question your assumptions, and seek out disconfirming evidence, where you can navigate complex social dynamics with ease, recognizing the influence of group biases without being unconsciously swayed by them. This is the long-term benefit of bias recognition and mitigation, a mind that is naturally more balanced, more objective, and more resilient to misleading influences. As this way of thinking becomes habitual, you'll find that your results improve with less and less conscious effort. The mental energy you once expended on overcoming biases can now be directed towards creativity, problem-solving, and pursuing your goals. It's like upgrading the operating system of your mind. Everything runs more smoothly and efficiently. But perhaps the most profound transformation will be in how you see the world and your place in it. As you become more aware of biases like system justification and the status quo bias, you'll be better equipped to critically evaluate societal structures and norms. You'll be able to see beyond the apparent inevitability of current systems and imagine new possibilities for positive change. This doesn't mean you'll suddenly have all the answers or that life will become perfectly logical and predictable. The human mind, in all its complexity and with all its biases, is what makes us uniquely human. Emotions, intuitions, and even some biases can serve valuable purposes. The goal isn't to eliminate these aspects of our cognition, but to understand them better so we can harness their strengths while mitigating their weaknesses. As we conclude this journey, I want to leave you with a final thought. The knowledge you've gained in this book is not just a set of interesting facts or clever mental tricks. It's a key to unlocking a more authentic, more empowered version of yourself. By understanding the hidden influences on your thinking, you gain the freedom to choose your path more consciously and deliberately. You now have the tools to see through the mind's mirages, those convincing illusions that can lead us astray. But more than that, you have the power to create new mental landscapes. You can cultivate a mind that is more open, more balanced, and more aligned with your true values and goals. This is the ultimate payoff of your journey through cognitive biases. It's not just about avoiding errors or making better decisions, although those are certainly valuable outcomes. It's about becoming the author of your own story, the master of your own mind. It's about seeing the world with greater clarity and engaging with it more authentically. As you move forward from here, remember that this is not the end of your journey, but a new beginning. Each day will bring new opportunities to apply what you've learned, to catch yourself in moments of biased thinking and to make more conscious choices. Embrace these moments not as challenges, but as opportunities for growth and self-discovery. You've unveiled the mind's mirage, and in doing so, you've unlocked a new level of cognitive freedom. However, to truly harness the power of your newfound awareness, you'll need to see beyond individual biases and understand how they interconnect within larger systems. This holistic perspective is the key to transforming your entire mindset and achieving unprecedented personal growth. To take your journey to the next level and unlock your full potential, dive into the audiobook Systems Thinking Mastery. Transform your mindset for ultimate personal growth. Tap the center of the video now to continue your transformation journey.